Kia ora, I'm Lockie and I'm the Kiwi vegan granddad. Now sometimes you hear people say, I couldn't be a vegan, it's far too expensive. Do they have a point? Take sausages for example. If you compare the cost of vegan sausages and non-vegan sausages, you're probably paying 2 or 3 times the amount for the vegan sausages. What I want to do in this video is to make some sausages that are affordable, useful and tasty. And we're going to be making them out of seitan. And you might ask, what is seitan? Well, if you imagine flour, it's made up of carbohydrates and it's also got a certain amount of protein in it. If you take away all the starches and carbohydrates, you're left with gluten, and gluten is what we use to make seitan. Gluten flour can be called different things. For example, sometimes it's called vital wheat gluten. I get mine from an Indian grocer. You could maybe be able to get it in some supermarkets, probably in some health food shops or bulk bin places. But I can get a kilogram of gluten flour for $6.50. Now I would say that if I made all of this into vegan meats, I could probably feed at least 12 people, probably double that. It's quite an economic way of making vegan meats. Because it's the protein part of the wheat, gluten or seitan is normally about the same protein level as something like chicken. So it's very high in protein. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's make some vegan sausages. Kia ora. So we have 3 cups of gluten flour, which we will put into this bowl. We're going to mix in some other dry ingredients. I've got some onion powder and some garlic powder, so 2 tablespoons of onion and 1 of garlic. I've got my trusty nutritional yeast, so I'm going to be putting in 2 tablespoons of that. Seitan is a type of ingredient that really requires a lot of seasoning, so I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of vegan beef stock powder, and then one of the last dry ingredients will be a teaspoon of white pepper. We'll put in a half a teaspoon of salt. We'll just give all of those ingredients a really good mix together. I've got about 1.5 cups of mushrooms, and you say, well, how much is that? About 120 grams. I'm going to whiz it up in the food processor with a small handful of sage leaves. These you could use maybe a couple of teaspoons of dried sage. I didn't have any, so I've just gone and grabbed some sage from outside. And we can see that that has reduced somewhat in size, but of course not in weight. The other thing that we require is some wet ingredients. So what I'm going to do is whiz up some things in here. which will form the wet base to the seitan. Right, so I've got a can of tomatoes, just chopped tomatoes. I've got 50 grams of miso, white miso, any kind of miso would do. So that's probably about 1/4 cup. Measurements are not vital. And then 1/4 cup of peanut butter. And a couple of tablespoons of soy sauce. And a couple of tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Now you could do this in the food processor. I quite like doing it in a blender. It's not a good idea to add the onions into there because we want the onions to still have a certain amount of texture. Okay, we're just at the stage now where we can start throwing all of this together. I will most likely be adding some more water, just plain water to the mix to make it the right consistency that I want. Okay, so first of all we'll put in the onion, the mushrooms, and we want these to be mixed in as much as possible. So instead of mushrooms, some people use chickpeas or chickpea flour, quite common. It's just to help with the texture. I really like the mushrooms as an addition. Just get my fingers in there to mix those mushrooms in a bit more. We'll add in the wet ingredients and see how much, if any, extra water we need. I tend to make seitan very much from scratch, just with whatever I've got around. Don't necessarily stick to a recipe. It's just once you know what the right consistency should be, then generally things are fine. So yes, we're definitely going to need some water. I'm going to start with a cup. I will mix it into here just to get the last bits of the wet ingredients. Okay, so we'll pour some of this in. Because I'm going to steam this, I want it to be a little bit wetter than if I was going to simmer it. And we can see that that's starting to look a bit spongy, which is what I want. That's looking quite nice in terms of how much water or liquid ingredients should be in it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is knead it, and doesn't need to be kneaded for a long time, but what you should be looking out for is that there should be sort of fibres forming when you pull it apart. Okay, so let's just see if we can see those fibres that are forming there. in the centre. Okay, step 1 completed. We've made the seitan dough. I could put this into the oven and roast it. Might do that another day, but today is about making sausages. We've left the seitan to sit for a while. I am a granddad, I am forgetful. I did forget to add in a heaped teaspoon of smoked paprika, which I've done and just mixed in, kneaded in roughly. Liquid smoke would be alright as well, but I quite like smoked paprika. Okay, so we want to make some sausages out of this. So we'll just start to, we can hopefully see those nice fibres that are, and you can also see that paprika that I didn't mix in that well. Okay. So we've got a sausage here, which we are going to shape into a sausage. I have some parchment paper, or baking paper, baking parchment, if you want to call it, and I'm wrapping it up. This is a piece of tinfoil that I used last time. So you could leave the baking paper out, but sometimes it sticks to the tinfoil, so I prefer to have both layers. Okay, and we'll that is one ready and done. Right, I've done that, and we can see that if I'd done this measured things properly, I would have got a full dozen, but I ended up with 11 sausages, all individually wrapped. Now, you can, there's various ways you could steam these. If you're making about 6 sausages and you've got a big nice wide pot, then something like this is quite good to lay the sausages in. You might also have a pot like this, which is quite good for steaming a small number of things. However, I have a big steamer, and it's got 2 layers. It's got a top layer and a bottom layer. I've just boiled up some water in the jug. Ooh. And I'll put that on the heat. Enough. So we'll put in this. We'll put in the top layer. So we can bend them slightly, it won't matter. and we'll let that boil. Right, so if I look inside, I can see that that is cooking. I'll turn it down so it just has a bit of a simmer, and we want that to cook for at least 45 minutes, and we'll come back and have a look then. Oh no! Oh, don't go up there, that'll be hot. It's been about 3/4 of an hour, so let's have a wee look. Right, let's just unwrap one and see what it looks like. And we can see we've got a sausage there. It'll, as it cools, it'll stiffen up a little bit. Okay, I've worked it out roughly. Gluten cost $2.61. The mushrooms just over $2.04. Onion, garlic powders, I didn't weigh them, or the stock powder, the salt and pepper, but I didn't use an awful lot, so I'm guessing about $2 for that. The nutritional yeast, I worked it out at 50 cents, peanut butter at about 50 cents, the miso about 60 cents, the can of tomatoes was $1.25, and the soy about 30 cents. So all up, that was $9.80. So each of these is less than $1 each. But it's hard to compare because a lot of sausages, vegan sausages that you buy in the shops, are actually quite small. And you can see that that's quite a bit larger than some that you do buy. But if we work it out by kilo, then you're paying for a store-bought vegan sausage. There's just ordinary vegan sausages that you're likely to get in a supermarket. Anything from about $20 through to $33 per kilo. Okay, so that's zeroed, and we will now place these on, see how much they weigh. So there we have 1 1/4 kilos, 1.227. Well, I've worked it out. The 1.227 kilos comes out at $7.98 per kilo, which is a similar price to the cheapest meat sausage, slightly cheaper, and it is a jolly sight cheaper than if you're going to be buying a packet of vegan sausages. Kia ora. It's kupu Māori time. The word for today, fitting I guess, is tōtiti. Tōtiti, sausage. Kei hea ngā tōtiti. Kei hea ngā tōtiti. Where are the sausages? Kei rungi I te tēpu. Kei rungi I te tēpu. On top of the table. Kei runga ngā tōtiti I te tēpu. Kei runga ngā tōtiti I te tēpu. The sausages are on the table. That's all for today. Let me know what you think of the video. Is the recipe too hard? Maybe. If you make the tōtiti, the sausages, let me know how you get on. If you like the video, press like. If you want to subscribe to the channel, subscribe. Ngā mihi. Kia ora rawatu.